Hello, welcome back to another segment in excerpts from a spiritual ascension. But today I wanted to talk about spiritual paralysis. Um, so if you think about sleep paralysis, if you've heard of that or have experienced that, when you may be asleep and you wake up and you just can't move your body at all. You feel like something's holding you down or whatever. And many people have kind of put it as some kind of, I know I've experienced before, some kind of force or whatever it may be. Um, I think it kind of goes, I don't want to, okay, I'm not going to get into that in this segment. But if you've ever experienced it, or you can look it up, sleep paralysis, your mind is going, you may even be able to open your eyes, but you can't move your body whatsoever. Okay. Um, so something that I've dubbed spiritual paralysis is if you think of that in a similar way. So thinking of the beginning of my story, my journey, um, back at the end of April, beginning of May, 2020. If you can remember what was going on then, I had kind of been sitting in my apartment in New York for 6 weeks and not knowing what was going to happen. And I had family in New Jersey and kind of decided, okay, I didn't want to be alone and I knew they needed help. So let me go and help them. And I had put all my stuff in, all my material possessions in storage, thinking I would be back maybe in 3 to 4 months or something like that. And, or not knowing really at that point, we all didn't know how long this would go on for. But I figured I would probably be back in the fall. And I gave up my apartment and moved to New Jersey. And just really taking a suitcase and, necessary things with me to get me through to the fall. And exactly a year before, I had um, taken early retirement from my Wall Street job because I knew that I was supposed to leave my job at that time. And knew I was supposed to start some kind of spiritual work, but I wasn't sure exactly what that was. Like it wasn't happening. And I had taken my yoga certification during that time. Thought I was going to start a yoga business, and things just kind of fell apart. Um, so in New Jersey, at first, the first month or so, it's kind of like, okay, this is nice being with family during this time because I was all alone. And gradually, um, time had gone by, everything remained the same. And my money was dwindling because, I had spent money, thinking I was opening up this business. And it was what I would call a spiritual paralysis. I was unable to move. Okay. So it's like the universe puts you in a timeout where you are not able to um, go anywhere. It's kind of the reason for that is they want you now to focus on the reason, start focusing on, like, you're not going to know what's going on, but this is like my warning to you is when you get into this place where you feel like anything you try to do, you're being held in place, it's because the universe wants you to recognize that you're about to start this journey And especially if you're around family or any other kind of relationships that need to be removed from your life, you're going to be put in these circumstances so that you're so upfront, um, in close proximity with these people, that things are going to happen where you're going to be able to see them for who they truly are. So with family, we always think of unconditional love, no matter what we go through. And this is where spirit is also trying to help you to recognize your self-worth, which is a big part of um, who we are and what we need to recognize. Um, Most of us going through this ascension process have an issue with our self-worth. So we're kind of put in this situation to see how those in our life have been treating us all these years, all this time, and recognize like I've been dealing with this. And it's kind of like you can't go home, right? I couldn't go home. Um, so I had to sit and kind of deal with my family. Whenever something would happen before with them, if something I didn't like or care for, something like that, I can just up and leave, right? But now I was put into a position where I could not move. I could not go back home. There was no home to go back to. And I had to deal with this situation and kind of coming face to face with what I would say karmic relationships that needed to be removed, resolved, and also removed from my life. And that's probably what will end up happening with you also. Um, that was truly one of the most difficult parts of this because that went on for like 2.5 years of not being able to move, being kind of paralyzed. And then I went so deep into, I would say, the 5D at that point, the five dimension, um, that it was hard for me to now, because I was in this protective mode from my own family. And going deep spiritually was what my protection was, from the outer world or the 3D world. And in a way, I got so far deep into that, I can't even say mind frame, it's really a spirit frame of mind. Um, that spirit kind of had to actually kind of pull me out. I had a friend that came and took me away for a weekend. And it was kind of like a snap out, like get earthy, went for a long ride to another state and kind of needed to get that earth energy back into me. And long story, but just knowing that you probably may go into a period of time where you're being held by the universe so that you can face some things that you need to face. You're going to do a lot of um, shadow work during that time. You're going to start to see the relationships that are around you at that point, what they truly are, and that they probably are no longer meant to be in your life. Okay. Um, when I finally left, um, it was kind of like leaving with just what I had on, the few possessions that I had and like the clothes on my back at that point, because spirit wants you now to be free of everything that was in that initial part of your life. You're moving into a whole new life, and those things are no longer beneficial to you. So you have to release everything. um, that was hard for me to have, accumulated so many material things and having to let them go. Um, so that's why it was such a long period of time because you're making a mental adjustment, an emotional adjustment, and also spiritual adjustment. And that was 2.5 years out of my 5-year journey of kind of being in this paralysis state. Um, so I'm going to leave it there. If you have any questions for me about that, have any questions about your journey, about my journey, there's a link below for you to spend time with me and we can work through any questions you may have. Also, I've done several courses on the spiritual ascension process, and that link is also below. Thank you for joining me again. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.